own judgment.
All right, let's talk about your area of responsibility. It looks as though the number of people coming across the Channel in small boats is going to hit 35,000 this weekend. Now, the majority of those have come since you took office. We've had storms, temperatures dropped over the last 3 months. Yeah, last Thursday was the busiest December day ever, we think.
That was partially because we had 9 days with no arrivals.
Yeah, but
and
okay.
what happens when you have but what happens when you have an industrialised, people smuggling, gang-related issue going on at the borders is there gets to be pent-up demand when you can't cross, and then if there comes a day when it's likely that you can, you're likely to get more than you normally would. Indeed. So this is just why we have to tackle the gangs. Indeed.
Well, what happened to smashing the gangs? They seem resolutely unsmashed.
Well, the first thing to say is they're established, very well established, and they've been allowed to industrialise their process with very sophisticated supply lines all the way through European countries. That's why we are doing what we're doing to come to agreements with Germany. We had the Calais Group meeting last week, chaired by the Home Secretary and her German counterpart, with the French, the Dutch and the Belgians. We need more cooperation cross-border operationally, which is why we've set up the Border Security Command. But I'm not going to sit here, Trevor, and say that when you're presented with something that's this well established and this sophisticated, that I can get out a magic wand and wave it and it'll all be OK in 5 months. This is a tough job. It will take time to do it. It'll take good operational cooperation, good cross-border policing. That is why the Home Secretary was in Italy, coming to a joint agreement about taking down some of the financial structures that the gangs use to finance their activities.
I want to come to that. And
so bit by bit, we are going to dismantle them.
It's perfectly fair for you to say that you've got to take time. How long before we see these numbers coming down?
Well, it's a priority to get the numbers down, but we've
got
how
long should we wait?
We've got to get.
We have to wait.
We've got to get a handle on all of these operational things. So I'm not going to sit here and give you a date. We've had governments that have given dates about and figures about getting immigration down to the tens of thousands and then quadrupled it. So I don't think that people want a date snatched out of the air that nobody is confident that they can meet. What they want is to see steady, regular progress, and that's what we're going to give them.
Well, respect. The government doesn't seem to be short of numbers and milestones and foundations and all the rest of it. The one number that you won't give us is when, or the one piece of information you won't give us is when you expect to turn this around.
Well, we've made a good start in 5 months. We've done a lot of international work with our partners. We are also now starting some advertising in some of the source countries, working with our partners as well to show potential victims of people smuggling that it's not the kind of life that they want in the UK. We are returning people who are here illegally, 13,500 more than at any time since 2018. So we are doing the job, but I'm not going to pretend that I know when it will get down to zero. We are going to reduce it. We will do it steadily.
I will not. OK, let me ask you about, just for a couple of pieces of information. You announced that you've, as you said, returning more than 13,000 individuals. You've sent 33 flights abroad. Which countries are they going to?
Well, there's a range of countries.
But what are the top countries?
Vietnam, Timor-Leste, Brazil. We got the first flight off to Nigeria, Pakistan, Albania, and a range of others that aren't charters, but are the individual returns. So we came across a system where the last government had really stopped enforcing the results of asylum. If you're here illegally, we want you to leave. If you're here illegally and you don't have the right to be here, please leave voluntarily. We may even assist you to leave voluntarily. If you're here and you won't leave, we will enforce your leaving in the end.
You say the last government wasn't doing it, but actually the truth is that, in fact, they were raising the number of people returns. Have a look at this
the returns had halved from 2010.
Yeah, but you can see why returned at half. 2020, remember COVID?
Yes, I do remember.
The point is that in 2023, enforced returns were up by 54%, voluntary returns by even more.
Further, by the way, if you took that graph further back to 2010, you'd see that they'd halved.
Yeah, but your number of 13,000... 13,500 that you're claiming is about the last 5 years. And my point is that the numbers were going up under the Tories, and actually there's no embarrassment about simply saying that you are carrying on the trend that they established.
No, we are.
You're doing pretty much the same thing.
We are doubling down on it. We've got far more people working on it. We're doing far more enforcement of illegal working in the labour market. So there's a 30% increase in the number of enforcement visits, more arrests, more people arrested for employing people illegally. And we'll carry on enforcing the rules that haven't been properly enforced in recent years. OK,
well, let me ask you a simple, straightforward question. Do we know how many undocumented migrants there are in this country?
Well, it's not possible to know how many undocumented migrants there are. We only know the ones that we've come across. There are currently 107,000 people in our asylum system. That's the backlog that we inherited, which we're dealing with. But if somebody's here completely illegally and they got here illegally and we've never come across them, we don't know who or where they are.
This is a genuine question. How is it possible to do your job if you don't even know how many people are encompassed in that job?
Well, we know the ones that we've come across. You wouldn't think it, but about 70% of the people that are here illegally came here legally in the first place and have since gone illegal on work visas or overstayed student visas. We know who they are. We know the people who come over on small boats because we encounter them. We take their biometric details. We check them against terrorist watch lists. So we do know that. But you asked me a question about every single person in the country.
No, I asked you, do you have a number for undocumented migrants? Now, in other countries, they can tell you that there are these number of millions. And there's research which is on, which has been done by universities and so on, which suggests it's something like 1 million in this country. And I wonder if you've asked officials to come up with an official number. Because you can see what the problem is. If you don't have a number, then other people are going to suggest all sorts of numbers.
Yes. We publish more and more detailed statistics on migration in the UK than any other country. We just had a big publication of those statistics about that thick at the end of November, which revealed that the previous government had net migration quadrupled to nearly 1 million a year, whilst promising only tens of thousands. So there's plenty of statistics around. But if you ask me whether I know somebody who's sneaked in and has never come across the official channels, the answer is obviously we don't know. We know a lot, but we don't know everything.
Just very quickly, briefly, Tony Blair says what we need is ID cards, because that'll help establish what the number is and who should be here and should not be here. Are they under consideration?
No, it wasn't in our manifesto. It is, by the way, wise to remember that actually you can't get a job. It's illegal in this country to get a job without showing your documentation. That's the enforcement we're doing in the labour market with the increasing number of arrests.
Angela Eagle, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.